for joining us for Books in Focus, where we're talking about books coming out in July. Summer reading program is going on now at Marion Public Library, and we invite all of you to stop by the main desk and find out more. There's prizes, we're waiving fines, we have staff competitions that involves pie throwing, so please participate. Ask us questions at the end if you have any. Let's get started with some instant bestsellers. Well, it wouldn't be Books in Focus without James Patterson's The Hamptons Lawyer is the third in a series focused on criminal defense attorney Jane Smith. She's armed and she's ready with evidence to take on her toughest clients in the Hamptons. The world's greatest detective and her just okay assistant. Sounds like a great fun title. A great detective's young assistant yearns for glory, but first these two just have to get along in this feel-good mystery. The newest from Lisa Scottolini is a sweeping gothic suspense in which a young widow, emotionally distraught after the shocking death of her husband, inherits a Tuscan estate from a mysterious benefactor and finds herself lost in a dangerous conspiracy. Also, a little bit of Italy, coming from the view from Lake Como. Main character Jess lives in Lake Como, New Jersey, and to her, family is everything. She's just left her perfect husband and moved home with her parents. An unexpected loss uncovers long-held family secrets, and Jess takes back control of her life with a trip to her family's ancestral home in Lake Como, Italy. The Woman in Suite 11 is an unexpected sequel to bestseller The Woman in Cabin 10. Main character Lo Blacklock returns to attend the opening of a luxury hotel, only to find herself at a white-knuckled race across Europe. Our last Vineyard Summer takes place in the 1960s and 70s as a graduate student and her sisters return to their family's summer home on Martha's Vineyard to help their mother pack up their home for sale. They learn more than anticipated about each other and their family history. In Inside Job, the newest from art restorer and Spy Along, is back with a large commission to restore a painting in Venice. But a mysterious body floating in the Venetian lagoon will change his plans. And last but not least, Wayward Girls is the story of discarded teens coming together at a Catholic reform school in 1960s Buffalo for fans of Before We Were Yours or The Berry Pickers. Now some nonfiction hot titles.
The CIA Book Club comes to us from author Charlie English. This is the astounding true story of the CIA secret program to smuggle books through the Iron Curtain. That's in an attempt to get a balance of information around the world. How We Grow Up is prize winner Matt Rintel's psychology profile, in which he delivers a groundbreaking investigation into adolescence, which, as we know, it shifts and moves around as our culture shifts and moves around. JFK by Randy Taraborelli. Deeply researched, Tabarelli tells JFK's story by revealing how public moments in his life were influenced by private relationships. And the blurb also included there is a surprising secret life that emerges as well. I would be very intrigued to find out if there are any more secrets under that heading, but we shall see. The Hiroshima Men by Ian McGregor is a history that elucidates the approval, construction, and decision making that went into dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The Beast in the Clouds. This is the story of Theodore Roosevelt's two oldest sons and their 1929 expedition to the Himalayas to prove the existence of pandas. That was news to me. I did not know pandas were considered mythological creatures before 1929.
Wow, I guess the journey was a success.
I guess it was, yeah, because here we are, right? We Are Eating the Earth by Michael Grunwald. This is under the category of climate scientist, and Grunwald's premise is that we have to fight to fix our food system by slowing the expansion of farmland into land being used by nature. We are still destroying the rainforest at 1 acre every 6 seconds. The Aviator and the Showman by Lori Gwen Shapiro is the story of the marriage between Amelia Earhart and George Putnam, and how that marriage and that relationship played a part in Amelia's enduring legacy. He was the energy behind her, telling her to go farther, do more, try this, try that, including her very last journey. And A Marriage at Sea is in the biography category. This is an adrenaline-fueled high seas adventure with a gutting love story that asks us who we become under the most extreme conditions imaginable. Married couple, they're gonna take their boat around the world and they're out in the middle of it and hijinks ensue and they have to figure it out. They must figure it out. All right, Jenny, can you get us started?
So to start, we have the Satisfaction Cafe by Kathy Wang. It's going to come out July 1st, and it is a literary novel. A compelling read that you'll continue to think about long after you turn the last page. It is a comforting story of family, friendship, and introspection that follows Joan Lean's life moving from Taiwan to California after her first marriage implodes. However, as she falls in love again, makes a family, and grows older, Joan wrestles with the same question for years. Will she ever truly feel satisfied in this life? This sparks her to open the Satisfaction Cafe, a place for strangers to come together in this beautiful story that is quietly reflective and heartwarming, a perfect read for summer. The first read alike is also a newer book, The Family Recipe by Carolyn Hood. When Duc Tran, owner of Vietnamese sandwich chain Duck Sandwiches, decides to retire, his adult children's lives are thrown into chaos as they must compete to inherit their father's sandwich shop. A novel of family, love, and legacy, this family dramedy is all about rediscovering one's roots, all while battling the ins and outs of day-to-day life while trying to run a restaurant.
The next read-alike is 3 Days in June by Ann Tyler. I chose this because a lot of people in the review said the Satisfaction Cafe had a very similar tone to Ann Tyler's writing style.
So, written in Tyler's signature literary style comes her newest novel of family, love, heartbreak, and marriage, told through the lens of Gail, a socially awkward mother that is dealing with her own personal struggles as she navigates the days before and after her daughter's wedding. Emotional and full of humor, this is a quick read all about the ups and downs of life.
Letter Carrier by Francesca Giannoni. This is a novel that takes place in 1934 in Salerno, Italy. And our protagonist is Anna, who moves to this little village of Lisanello. Very tight-knit, small place, and she is beautiful, and she is well-read, and she wears pants like a man, which makes her immediately scandalous. She applies for and obtains a job as a local letter carrier. Also, what a man would do, not a woman. But she finds herself as the invisible thread that connects the villagers. Some of them have secrets. Where our interest comes in. Lush prose of Izza's a poignant story that takes place in South Italy's vineyards. I'm sure the presence of the place is going to have a big impact in this work that comes out on the 1st of July. A couple of read-alikes, Elena Ferrante, My Brilliant Friend. This is the first in the Neapolitan series of Miss Ferrante's. This one's in the 1950s, but it too takes place at a time of great change, and it is going to illustrate the impact of those changes on two friends, on their neighborhood, on their town, on their country, how those things often come down to us. They begin to affect us in many different ways. And Juliet brings 7 or 8 Deaths of Stella Fortuna. This was a book discussion book. I thought it was a wonderful story. And what this has in common with the letter carrier is the immigration story, the moving around to a place that you were not raised in, and family betrayal, and of course an extremely strong female lead character.
The Frozen People is a first in a new series. Cold cases are a lot easier to solve when you can time travel to find new evidence until you get stuck in the wrong century. Allie Dawson and her cold case team are investigating crimes so old, the inside joke is that they are frozen. The team's secret to success is being able to time travel. On their newest case, Allie ventures back to London in the 1850s to clear the name of Cain Templeton, a kooky art patron accused of shady dealings. She accidentally gets involved in the case of a dead woman she finds on her trip, and the time clock to return to the present starts to run low. For the read-alikes, check out Val McDermott's Queen Macbeth, similar writing style from these two mystery writers. In this one, Shakespeare fed us the myth of the Macbeths as murderous conspirators, but now Val McDermott drags the truth out of the shadows, exposing the patriarchal prejudices. Expect the unexpected in this one. Also made me think of the Ministry of Time, an upcoming book discussion book. Goodreads had this as the best science fiction of 2024. Part time travel, part romance, part spy thriller, part workplace comedy. This one explores bringing people back from the past while working on their time travel. Love Forms. It's the second novel from Claire Adams. In this one, during much of her life, Dawn felt as if something was missing. Now in her 50s, after a divorce and after the kids have moved out, she's haunted by the secret she has kept all of her years. When she was young, Dawn became pregnant. She had lived in Trinidad, and her parents' focus forced her to give up her child for adoption. Years later, Dawn is now yearning to reconnect with her long-lost daughter and finding it is not as easy as she would have hoped. A powerful, moving story of a woman struggling and dealing with life, love, family, and home. Reads like Going Home off the news shelf. In this one, we focus on main character Teo, who's grown. He's got a steady job. He's got a fancy apartment. He's got a new car. But when he deals with his father, he turns back into an insecure child, struggling and seeking his father's approval. The love of his life passes unexpectedly, and Teo agrees to take on responsibility for her 2-year-old son. The relationship of family and men in particular is explored with simple, beautiful prose. Love Forms also makes me think of Good Dirt. 10-year-old Evie's life changes in an instant with an unsolved crime in New England. The family's struggle, their personal lives are gossiped and exposed and reported on. When she's old enough, Evie flees to France, hoping to leave her past behind her. A multi-generational epic, evocative family story from the best-selling author Black Cake.
A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping is a cozy fantasy from Sangu Mandana that will release on the 15th of July. Takes place in Lancashire, England. It is, our protagonist is young Sarah. She ends up with her Aunt Jasmine and together they run an enchanted inn. Sarah used to be a powerful witch, but she lost most of her magic. So she tries to keep her talking fox in check while she keeps her quirky guests happy, and she hopes for a future that she seems to have lost. Enter Luke Larson, handsome, icy, magical historian. He just may have the answers to ending Sarah's dark spell, and he may not be so icy. Read-alikes for this one. She is usually writes J fiction and young adult fiction. So this is her first regular adult fiction. But some read-alikes for this would be H.G. Perry's The Magician's Daughter. That takes place in 1912 in Ireland with a similar story. Young Biddy leaves home in search of her magic, But as she gets closer to discovering her magic, she begins to wonder if she really wants it back or not. And then Neil Gaiman's collection of short stories is Fragile Things. This was his follow-up to American Gods, and his stories always have at least a quirky character and a little tweak of magic, so you can be assured you'll find those similar qualities there.
We have She Didn't See It Coming by Shari Lavania, her newest thriller coming out on the 29th. It is her newest gripping domestic thriller from who people refer to the Queen of Suburban Paranoia, and it follows the disappearance of beloved wife and mother Bryden, who has the perfect life with her husband and daughter. However, when Bryden fails to pick their daughter up from daycare, their house is empty and she is nowhere to be found. Filled with suspense and a large list of suspects, this one is filled with twists and turns that will compel readers to binge read this fast-paced thriller. Perfect for fans of Beata Paris, Marion Public, Megan Miranda, and Ruth Ware. The first read-alike that came to mind was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn, since it also deals with the missing wife. When Nick's beautiful wife, Amy, goes missing, he becomes the prime suspect in this dark and twisted psychological thriller told in dual perspectives. He is positive his wife was lying about being afraid of him, and the strange searches on his computer weren't him, but if Nick isn't behind all of this, then who is? The next one it made me think of was Just the Nicest Couple by Marion Public, although it's in reverse. So when Nina's husband, Jake, fails to return home after a heated fight, she asks their close friends, Lily and Christian, if they've heard from or seen him. Lily knows something about his disappearance, but won't tell. Filled with unlikable characters, twists, and an ending that will blindside you, this is a fast-paced read that will thrill you. Girl in the Creek by Wendy Wagner. It comes out on the 15th. Perfect for fans of cosmic horror and Paul Tremblay. Comes an atmospheric horror novel set in Pacific Northwest forest that devours all who enter. When freelance writer Erin Harper decides to investigate her brother's disappearance in the forest, things begin to go awry in this forest of spores and terror. A compelling, fast-paced, creepy read with a surprising twist at the end, and it is filled with grotesque descriptions. This one is sure to make you second-guess your next camping trip. Part of my read-alikes, all of these do deal with like fungal, like I don't know, creatures and horrors. So the first read-alike is Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. It is made into a movie as well. Area X, a pristine Eden-like landscape, has been cut off from the world for decades. And this is the story of the 12th expedition into the mysterious terrain led by 4 women. After previous expeditions ended in mass suicide, gunfire, and cancerous death, this group's mission is to map the terrain, observe each other, and most importantly, avoid being contaminated by the horrors that lie within. Second read-alike, What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. I like that it had the same fungal motif on the cover as Girl in the Creek. A retelling of Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher follows soldier Alex Easton, who is returning home when he hears his childhood friend Madeline Usher is ill. However, he arrives to find a nightmare of fungi consuming the house, possessed wildlife, and the lake is somehow seemingly alive. Will Alex be able to uncover the secrets of the House of Usher before the house consumes them all? This quick and creepy tale is perfect for fans of Mike Flanagan and the Haunting of Hill House series, but be sure to grab the second one if you like the first one.
That Last Carolina Summer is going to be coming out on the 22nd of July, and this is a story about Phoebe and her family. It takes place in the South Carolina Low Country, and that is another setting that's going to give us a lot of clues as to how the story is going to go. Phoebe returns after many years to her family home so she can help her sister, with whom she's had a strained relationship. Her sister Addie, to care for their ailing mother. Phoebe had a knack for premonitions when she was a child, and she's tried very hard to grow away from that. But her ability for premonition and recurring nightmares emerge along with some truths that change everything for Addie and Phoebe and their Karen White's last book, The House of Prytania. This is a Royal Street series. This is number 2. This is also a woman haunted by her past and ghosts, and who also has a sister issue driving the story. And the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires by Grady Hendrix. This book, my friends, is the Steel Magnolias meets Dracula. That sounds like great fun to me. Woman's Book Club must save its suburban community from a mysterious stranger.
Can you solve the murder? Step into the shoes of a detective and see if you can solve the crime. There's been a murder at a wellness retreat in an English country manor. You arrive, you survey the scene. A local businessman has fallen from the balcony to the lawn, seemingly stabbed, and there's a rose in his mouth. The keys are missing, so everybody on the property is a suspect. So you'll need to gather the evidence and choose who to interview until you find your prime suspect. Every decision has a consequence, and some could be fatal. This is like a choose your own adventure for adults, and I think that's very sweet and quirky, and hopefully a lot of people enjoy it. Similar misleading titles are This Book Will Bury Me, the story of 5 amateur sleuths trying to find an elusive killer and the dangers they face along the way, for fans of true life crime writing. Apparently I decided not to punctuate this paragraph. Also Count My Lies, a suspense narrated by a compulsive liar, whose little white lies have made her quite comfortable up until this point, and she makes friends with a couple who are much more dangerous than they appear. Birth of a Dynasty is the start of a thrilling, epic fantasy trilogy centered around 3 families and their fight for power in a land where magic is feared, giants are real, and prophecy holds sway. Main character here witnesses a massacre in his village and then is set on the path for vengeance, and we will find out who his true father is on his quest. If you're interested, read similar titles like A Fate Forged in Fire. To become the first queen in centuries, a powerful blacksmith must use her wits and fire magic to overthrow the corrupt powers ruling her kingdom. This one is a Celtic-inspired romantasy. Also made me think of Children of Blood and Bone. This was a great science fiction, great audiobook, award winner from 2018. The jacket to catch your attention, the little bit of descriptor there is, they killed my mother, they took our magic, they tried to bury us, now we run.
Steve Barry has a new thriller. This is a standalone. He has many series with different characters featured. This is however a standalone. This one takes place in current times in Concord, Georgia, which is a small town in central Georgia near the Savannah River. And Brett Walker, after being gone many years, returns to his hometown to care for his ailing mother. He accepts a position with the largest employer in Concord and is caught in the crosshairs of men who want him dead for what he discovers while he's there. So you're going to read the list to uncover the shocking secret of the list. Read-alikes for this would be Barry's previous standalone, The Omega Factor. That's about a vandalized work of art. Or Charlie Donnelly's Long Time Gone. This is a woman's search for answers after she takes to a small town in Nevada and uncovers a dangerous web of corruption, power, and lies. So very similar theme, different characterizations. The Winds from Further West by Alexander McCall Smith. This comes out at the 29th, so this is the very end of the month release. And it too is a standalone, it's not part of any of his series. This takes place in Edinburgh, and the protagonist is Neil. Neil meets Chrissy. His career is going well, until it isn't. And then his career crashes. And then he experiences a severe betrayal. And his whole life that he thought he knew was shattered. So his attempt to escape his troubles by going to an uninhabited island, or remote island, not uninhabited, I'm sorry, just remote. And that works for a while, but his past is gonna catch up with him. And he has to face a life-changing decision. This is described by the Daily Express as a charming, delightful, feel-good stuff. So, which is often Mr. McCall Smith's MO. One of his previous standalone books, this is actually a dual collection of short stories, The Private Life of Spies and The Exquisite Art of Getting Even. So you've got about half of the books talking about little short stories about spies, short feel-good stories about spies, and short entertaining feel-good stories about revenge. So there's a collection of short stories that you can enjoy while you're waiting for The Winds from Further West to be released. And then a similar type of story, The Fellowship of Puzzle Makers by Samuel Burr. This one is a story of Clayton, who was raised by an eccentric group of enigmatologists, that means puzzle maker, someone who creates or studies puzzles. And he finds himself the last of a fading institution. That one has a bit of mystery in it. It's cozy and feel good, happy ending as well. Next, we'll take a look at Jamaica Road by Lisa Smith. This comes out on the 15th of the month. The time for this novel begins in 1981. The location is South London. And in South London, Daphne, who is a hopeless introvert, meets outgoing Connie, and they go from being friends to lovers with a very intense bond. Their Jamaican roots bond them, and their families are also bonded while they're living in London. And Connie confesses to Daphne at some point that his family is in England without the proper documentation, and it's not long before other family secrets emerge and threaten to tear them apart permanently. Jamaica Road spans a decade with plot twists and expansive emotions around race, class, and family. Read-alikes for this would be, of course, Black Kate. That too was a book discussion book. Also, Family Secrets, A Funeral, A Recipe, Siblings, are they going to go closer together, be driven further apart? And also, the backdrop is the Jamaican culture as well. And Here Comes the Sun by Nicole Dennis Benn. Jamaican sisters struggle to strike a balance between their identities and their dreams. One is an older sister who's trying to make life much easier for the younger sister, but as with many of those stories, is she doing what she wants to do or what the younger sister wants to do with her life? So that's the conflict in there.
So we have Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter. It is a romance coming out on July 15th. And reading the description made me think of this. I would be like this: if the movies Made in Manhattan, featuring J-Lo, and The Wedding Date had a baby, the result would be Painter's latest fake dating to really falling in love contemporary romance novel. When professional cleaner Abby Mariano's apartment is being treated for a serious infestation, she decides to stay a while at the seemingly empty penthouse she's been cleaning. However, when she finds two strangers in the kitchen one morning, she must think quickly and claims to be dating their son, the owner of the apartment. What ensues is a delightful rom-com full of witty banter featuring perspectives from both main characters, Abby and Declan, and a light sprinkling of spice in this adorable romance perfect for summer. Another real-life Take a Hint, Danny Brown. In this charming fake dating romantic comedy, Danica isn't looking for love, just a good time. So when brooding security guard Zafir rescues her during a workplace fire drill gone wrong, and the rescue video goes viral, their fake relationship begins when Zaf asks her to play along for the publicity. Filled with steam and witty banter, this is a perfect weekend or beach read that will have you laughing and crying as you read this fake dating relationship rom-com.
The next one, Fake It Like You Mean It, by Megan Murphy.
For as long as Elle can remember, her grandmother Lovey has taken care of her. But when Lovey is diagnosed with fast progressing Alzheimer's, Ellie decides to return home to take care of Lovey. But upon returning home, she finds Adam, a live-in nurse and overall pain in the ass, in her bed. Thrown together, tensions and emotions rise between Adam and Elle, and to make things worse, Lovey is convinced that the two are actually madly in love. When they decide to play into the relationship for Lovey's sake, things start to change, and this fake dating scheme begins to feel real, in this fake dating novel full of romance, comedy, and heartwarming moments. Fort Anna by Libby Buck is coming out the first. It is considered small town fiction. Life has been hard for Gwen Gilmore this past year as she navigates loss in many forms. The death of her mother, losing her teaching job, and she's just been dumped. Lost and adrift, Gwen returns home to Fort Anna, Maine, the foggy, unchanged town where she grew up. This atmospheric read will transport readers to the coast as they follow Gwen on her journey of second chances, making new friends, dealing with grief, and potentially finding love again. With a sprinkling of mystery, ghosts, and magical realism, this book is sure to appeal to readers that like a character-driven story that will make you want to visit home again. It instantly made me think of The Cliffs by J. Courtney Sullivan. I want to say that came out last year. When Jane Flanagan is a struggling teenager looking for escape, the long-abandoned Lavender Victorian sitting on a secluded bluff is her safe space. When she returns 20 years later, the Victorian is hardly recognizable, a fact which breaks her heart. Jane is asked to research the history of the house, where she uncovers the stories of the women who lived there. Enthralling, richly imagined, filled with psychic mediums, charlatans, spirits and past lives, mothers, marriage, and the legacy of alcoholism, this is a deeply moving novel about the land we inhabit and the women who came before us. Another read like it made me think of, actually brought to you by Nicole from RA, Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. Sounded like the perfect read-alike. A fast-paced, sweeping love story that will shatter readers' hearts. Is that accurate? A mix of romance and mystery, this compelling novel follows Beth, a happily married woman whose life changes forever when her brother-in-law shoots a dog belonging to Gabriel Wolfe, Beth's first love as a teenager. A novel of impossible choices, relationships, and second chances, this beautiful and emotional story toggles between past and present and will leave your heart broken and sobbing.
The newest from Kate Russo, Until Allison. In this one, Rachel finds out that Allison, her childhood rival, is dead and was found where they used to hang out in 8th grade. Very mysterious. The town is outraged and everyone is scared, but it's very complicated for Rachel as well. She saw Allison the night that she died. They were arguing, and now Allison is gone. Plagued by complicated memories about her friendship, her former friendship, I guess we should say, Rachel joins the journalist who is reporting on the murder and uncovers a web of cruelties. Described as an explosive literary thriller that explores topics of class, gender, and violence. I went a little crazy with my read-alikes. If you need some great thrillers focused on female relationships, check out She Didn't See It Coming and those read-alikes on that slide. It's a little up like a page. So I was trying to find something with complicated female relationships, and I stumbled upon this book, which is not a thriller. It is a historical fiction. It's The Eights by Joanna Miller. It's on the news shelf. It's currently checked out. This sounds fascinating, and if you guys are not aware of it, you should check it out. It follows the unlikely friendships among the first women ever to attend Oxford University in the aftermath of World War I. So it sounds like it's going to explore complicated female relationships. They have to rely on each other. There's competitiveness. They end up on the crew team, I do believe. Should be a great read. I'm a hope for you. Have it after me. I also looked a little bit at Kate Russo, the author of this, and her first novel was Superhost, which sounds like the total opposite of her newest book, so I was very intrigued by that. In Superhost, it's described as funny and focused on family. It's about Bennett, an award-nominated artist in his 50s who now can't sell an art piece to save his life. His wife is leaving him, and to make some money, he rents a cheap room in the town he lives, and he rents out his house on Airbnb. And interesting interactions with his new roommates and his new tenants will follow. The Game is Afoot. Also something more on the lighthearted, cozy mystery side. In this clever new mystery, a mother who thinks she can juggle it all, including solving murder. Main character Mavis rage quits her job. She embraces her role as supermom, bossing her daughter around, helping out in the classroom, until Coach Cole, the soccer coach, drops dead at practice. Mavis is convinced that the local cops are not doing enough, and she is convinced she can find out more. She finds herself in the dark underbelly of gentle parenting and MLM girl bosses, described as a cozy mystery with a sports twist and a commentary on modern motherhood. Read-alikes made me think of Class Act. In this one, and this is a young adult novel, Ella's going to a new school. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she accidentally very quickly makes an enemy with the student council president. She becomes hell-bent on revenge, and she is campaigning against him to defeat him. Vera Wong's Guide to Snooping is also a great cozy mystery series. Ever since Vera found a dead man at her tea house, life has been good. That's in the first one. This is the second one, also on the new shelf. In this one, Vera meets a very distressed young woman looking for a missing friend.
Okay, this one is a World War II fiction slide. So we have Dichrome by Samuel Hawley. What if the U.S. delivered 3 atomic bombs to the Pacific, not 2? In this sweeping novel set in Japan during the last days of World War II, we follow Japanese physicist Kaizo Kan, who has been tasked with recovering and dismantling an intact atomic bomb. Brimming with danger, secrets, and impossible choices, this is a moving story of love and survival during wartime. A remarkable debut that is the result of 28 years of research. This is sure to appeal to fans of historical fiction, World War II buffs, and those who love a good sweeping story with well-developed characters that are put to the test time and time again. I am on hold for this. It sounds fantastic, and I do not read any historical fiction. The next read-alike is Universe of Two by Stephen Kiernan. Part of why I picked this is this gives World War II from a different perspective. Fascinating and fictionalized account of Charlie Fisk, a gifted mathematician recruited for the Manhattan Project, where he is assigned the task of designing the detonator for the atomic bomb. A story of difficult decisions, guilt, and redemption with complex characters you can't help but root for. This is a well-researched and compelling read that will leave you emotional. Another World War II story, but it is inspired by the Army nurses the American Army nurses of World War II, and the unsung contributions of Filipinas of the resistance. When Tess Abbott flees the hardships of the Great Depression by traveling to the Philippines, everything changes when the Japanese Imperial Army invades, setting our main characters on a difficult journey of hope, bravery, and perseverance as they fight to survive the front lines. Told with vivid detail and featuring strong and courageous women, this one is sure to captivate readers. And really, any other reader like you could just do World War II historical fiction.
Greatest possible good. The main character in this one is Arthur Candlewick. He spends 3 days stuck in a mine shaft with only his son's drug stash, a book on effective altruism, and a bottle of Bordeaux. When he is rescued, Arthur thinks he's going to sell the family timber business and give away all of his wealth. His daughter wants to change the world, sure, but not at her own cost, of course. And his son is good at math, but hardly one would describe employable. And his wife isn't much help at all, as she's bouncing from trip to spa and back to the trip and back on a fancy trip and back to the spa again. So, made me think of Mona Acts Out. Stage actress Mona is in her apartment on Thanksgiving, surrounded by difficult in-laws, a ridiculous husband, and all her fancy friends. She can't take it anymore, so she grabs her dog and she heads out for some parsley, which she forgot. It turns into an overnight entertaining adventure. Also off the new shelf, Run for the Hills by Kevin Wilson. Things have been pretty quiet for Madeline and her mom since her dad left, until Reuben Hill shows up. Reuben is her previously unknown about half-brother who proposes a road trip to, surprise, go find their other half-siblings. Heartwarming family tale ensues.
The Peculiar Gift of July by Ashley Ream. This comes out the 1st of July. Takes place on Ebby's End, which is a small town on an island in the Pacific Northwest. Local grocer Anita Odom is very happy running her grocery store in her independent life. She is not expecting the arrival of a recently orphaned 14-year-old daughter of her estranged cousin to show up on her doorstep. But here she is, and her name is July. But young July has a knack. She has a knack for knowing what the customers in the grocery need to make their life just a little more better. A little more better. To make their lives just a little better. The island residents might need a magazine or an extra candy bar. She seems to know just what will lift their spirits. And her little gifts start to change the lives of the townspeople, opening their hearts and bringing them together. This novel explores forgiveness, family, and humor with a dash of magic and a cast of oddball characters. Sounds like this could be a fun read. Ashley Green has written 2 other books. The only one we have available in any form is A 100-Year Miracle, and that's on ebook only. So this is the first book we have in our collection. Some other read-alikes for this would be Irene Hanna's inspirational fiction piece, Driftwood Bay. This is where Jeanette moves to Hope Harbor, another small place, and in an attempt to escape these relationships that just complicate her life. But a single dad, a little girl, and an unruly puppy just might change her mind. And then I included also Kristen Hanna's Firefly Lane because of the relationship between the 2 women in the story that she follows, spanning 3 decades. Their friendship becomes a very important defining event of their lives.
Despite this being the tackiest, ugliest cover that you could ask me, like I look at that and go, what were they thinking? When I read more about this book, this is all the thing Nicole loves. This promises to be a funny, heartwarming family story, and a little interesting twist on the format, which I love as well. So Vera or Faith is the story of a family struggling, told from the youngest perspective. The family is a modern blend of Russian, Jewish, Korean, and New England wasp. They love each other deeply, but all the pressures of modern life and the relationships are fraying their bonds. Told from the perspective of observant and sensitive Vera. She's watching everything, she's reporting on it in her journal, she's writing down all the words she doesn't know, and her goal is she wants to help her family stay together. So it made me think of, I hope, the names. If you have not got yourself on hold or read this yet, please do. This is a wonderful debut novel. You're gonna have to hear about this every time I'm at Books in Focus, or Reader's Advisory, or making recommendations on the floor. I'm sorry, but not sorry. The Names is a beautiful story. It tells with sensitivity and depth. The author draws us into the story of one family told through 3 different names for her son, and how the life of the family would have unfolded with each different name. It might sound a little complicated, but it is well done, well written, very relatable and enjoyable, and I promise it is a wonderful book. Also made me think of The Home of the American Circus. In this one, 30-something Freya leaves her life in Maine behind. She moves home to Somers, New York. She has inherited the house of her estranged parents, and she encounters some old friends and enemies as well, and a 15-year-old surprise along the way. It is set in the birthplace of the American circus. This moving novel explores broken families and finding home.
Okay, so Mrs. Plansky Goes Rogue by Spencer Quinn's out July 15th, but that is technically the second in the Mrs. Plansky series. So I'm gonna actually start with my read-alike, Mrs. Plansky's Revenge, which is the first one in that series. So, Mrs. Plansky is in her 70s, recently widowed and retired, and is taking care of her 98-year-old father. When she gets a desperate call in the middle of the night from her grandson, she sends him the $10,000 he requested, but by morning she's lost it all and she's determined to make it all back. Follow Mrs. Plansky to Romania in this humorous, cozy mystery as she goes on a whirlwind journey to win back her money and her dignity. So that's the first one. The second one, Mrs. Plansky Goes Rogue. The quirky and curious Mrs. Plansky is back, and just won a thrilling senior tennis championship with her doubles partner, Kev DiNardo. When Kev's yacht mysteriously goes up in flames right before their championship celebration, Mrs. Plansky becomes suspicious, which only grows when Kev disappears. When she breaks into Kev's house to find clues, she stumbles into more than she could have bargained for in this highly entertaining, cozy mystery with a relatable, clever lead character. My other read-alike was also Vera Wong's Guide to Soothing on a Dead Man. The second installment in her Vera Wong series follows the curious and meddling Vera, whose tea house has been thriving ever since a man was found dead at her shop, like Nicole said. Bored and lonely, she comes across a mysterious briefcase containing a file about a dead influencer while cat-sitting for some friends. What ensues is a thought-provoking, funny, cozy mystery with a twist.
Something different. All the men I've loved again. In the late 90s, Y2K was on everyone's mind, and Cora had arrived to college ready for a life change. She wants to leave behind the shy, sheltered girl from a prep school in a quiet suburb and explore the world, meet new people. Even though she wanted change, Lincoln takes her on a roller coaster of first loves with lots of contradictions. She also meets Aaron, further complicating everything as he's the only person who seems to get her, and romance sparks fly. College Cora thought she all had it figured out, but 20 years later, and her heart is torn between Lincoln and Aaron once again. A big-hearted coming-of-age story, romance, woo. You should read like The Love Haters. In this one, Katie has been burned by love in the past, and now she's trying not to lose her job. She's a news video producer struggling to balance profiles of things she's interested in, people she's interested in, and her boss's demands. So her boss sends her on assignment to paradise, and lots of shenanigans, for lack of a better word, ensue. There's going to be swim lessons, helicopter flights, drinking contests, hurricanes, and some stolen kisses. Time loops and meet cutes. If you're in a romance, this one sounds ridiculously fun and funny and sweet. This one follows main character Noelle, who is living her Friday over and over and over and over and over again. She had a late night and ate some mysterious dumplings from an old lady that said the dumplings would give her what she needed in life. She thought that was food, but now she's stuck in her own personal Groundhog Day. She wakes up and she knows the answers to Wordle every day, and the job assignment is the same every day. She is stuck in time. Everything feels very meaningless. She is on a quest to meet that mysterious dumpling lady once again, and in her pursuit, she meets Cam, a handsome man who never remembers her in the morning, but he might just be the key. On a totally different note, I don't know, I got this one before Jenny. I didn't staple my note, but that's okay, because I read so much about this. Okay, so in Myra, there's a main character who had a friend from when she was young, and the girls separated. They went about their own ways. She's living in New York now, and one day out of the blue, as she's a grown, full working woman, Myra, her old friend from when they were younger, calls and says, "Hey, I haven't heard from you. What's going on? Let's have a weekend together. Let's get a house in Florida, in the Everglades." And she agrees. And so she goes to visit her friend, and she, of course, has some very confusing directions. And she loses cell phone reception along the way. And Moira's boyfriend shows up, even though Moira didn't tell her the boyfriend was going to show up. And the weekend just gets weirder and weirder, and I don't know if you can tell with the contrast, but there's a lot of Florida Everglades in the background here, and I think we're going to get lost in the Florida Everglades in a pursuit of surviving the weekend, kind of, or spoiler alert. So it made me think of Eat the Ones You Love. This is on the bestsellers list, and it is perfectly kooky horror. It's about a woman that applies for a job at a florist. She sees the sign in the window, she goes to help wanted. I could work at a florist. I mean, who would want that? That'd be fun, right? Except the orchid wants to eat her, okay guys? So she is struggling to make ends meet. She doesn't want to get eaten. She's trying to tell the florist that the orchid's trying to eat her. I don't think the florist is buying this, but hopefully she'll survive and make ends meet. When the Wolf Comes Home, just got a great review on NPR. An actress is jogging and she runs into a 5-year-old boy. The 5-year-old boy is trying to tell her the story of who he's running away from. And then they meet who he's running away from. And it's the boy's dad. And the boy's dad is not what he seems. And it is a fast, quick-paced horror, will they survive to the end of the book, oh my god, gripping it kind of thing. If you need a sleepless night, okay? But great reviews from NPR. Apparently it's very well written horror if you like a fast pace. I won't tell you any spoilers, but very dramatic.
I'm sold on all three.
Yes.
Okay, we're now starting the nonfiction, Dinner with King Tut by Sam Keene. It's out on the 8th. Take a deep dive into human history from 75,000 BC all the way to modern day as experimental archaeologists research and recreate the experience of our past ancestors. Travel around the world with archaeologists as they make mummies, carve ancient spears, and go hunting ancient style, all in the name of experiencing history as it was with all of its dangers, failures, and unexpected successes. Lively, rich, and well-researched, this book will appeal to historians and those curious about past inventions, told in Keene's accessible and approachable style that sucks readers in to the very last page. First, read alike, How to Be a Victorian by Ruth Goodman. So it's going to be a similar thing, but it's going to immerse you in Victorian era. So step into the past and learn what it was like to exist in the 19th century, from how to dress, cook, clean, do laundry, to brushing your teeth with cuttlefish and drinking beer for breakfast. Wild lives. Journey back and experience the day-to-day life in this well-researched history of Victorian life that is sure to fascinate and entertain. Next, read alike, A History of the World in 100 Objects by Neil McGregor. A bold approach to history that explores past civilizations through the objects that define them, written in small, easy-to-digest chapters, making this a fast read that can be devoured easily in one sitting. From chopping tools originating in Africa to ancient stone pillars to Victorian tea sets, McGregor creates an overall narrative of human history through the objects that have led us to where we are today.
Midnight on the Potomac by Scott Ellsworth. This work of history covers the last year of the Civil War, the Lincoln assassination, and the rebirth of America. Ellsworth takes us behind the scenes at the White House, behind the scenes at the battlefronts, and into conspiracies and spies and secret agents and very complex stories that are deeply researched and captivatingly written. Ellsworth may shatter some myths and challenge perspectives with this. This is a quote from the description of the book. Gripping testament to the courage, grit, and greatness of the American people. Every time I think we've heard the last book about Abraham Lincoln and new deeply researched information, another one comes along. So I think it would be very interesting to see what Mr. Ellsworth has to say. He's highly respected. He's been around a long time. He wrote The Groundbreaking, which was subtitled An American City and Its Search for Justice, which is the story of the Tulsa Race Massacre. And another read-alike from Midnight on the Potomac, The Second Founding. This one is by Eric Foner. He is a very well-respected historian, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. This is a book I actually really read in real life. And I think I've read it twice.
Hey, I'm just finishing this.
There you go. They're everywhere. This one is, this is a kind of a rock your world kind of revelation, a way of thinking about those, the amendments that were created right after the Civil War. Pretty fascinating as you think about how it changed the whole perspective of what America is to itself. Very good book.
So, A Year with the Seals by Alex Morris. It's out on July 15th. Environmental journalist Morris details the year she spent following the seals, examining their daily lives and their unexpected return from the brink of extinction. Learn about these adorable and magnificent creatures, their complex relations with each other and humans, in this well-researched novel featuring interactions with activists, scientists, and fishermen that interact with these amazing creatures. touching on topics of conservation, ecosystems, and climate change, along with the hunt and rescue of seals. This exploration into the world of sea dogs is sure to inform and inspire for fans of Jennifer Ackerman, Ed Yong, and Cy Montgomery. Another good read-alike would have been Cy Montgomery's The Life of an Octopus. Why did I not do that? First read-alike, What an Owl Knows by Jennifer Ackerman. A brilliant and captivating investigation into the most elusive of birds, the owl. Working in the field with other scientists and researchers, we learn how owls communicate, hunt, court, mate, and more in this awe-inspiring exploration of the various owls around the world. Passionately written and engaging, this is a great bird for book enthusiasts, great book for bird enthusiasts. Might also like the Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan. The Book of Eels by Patrick Svensson. Back to the ocean we venture to explore the mysterious eel. Where do they come from? What exactly are they? Despite our advanced science, there is still so much we don't know about these slippery creatures that not only stupefied Aristotle and Sigmund Freud, but also scientists of today as they work to catch and study the lives of thousands and thousands of these strange creatures. The Last Empress of France by P. Kladstrup and Evelyn Resnick. This one is fascinating. The dramatic and untold story of Eugenie de Montijo, a 19th century woman that fought for women's rights and was ahead of her time. This biography reads like narrative nonfiction, and it will capture readers' attention and hearts as they read about the amazing woman that Eugenie was. She tackled everything with passion as she fought to get underprivileged girls into schools, advocated for women's rights and health, all while running a government in her husband's absence. A woman of many talents with a unique life that is often forgotten to history, this biography is sure to enchant readers. First read-alike, The Rebel Empresses by Nancy Goldstone. It is a dual biography digging into the lives of both Elizabeth of Austria and then Eugenie of France as well. Two young and beautiful women that would not only become cultural and fashion icons of their time, but also help to bring political change to their respective empires. Written with great attention to detail and a writing style that sucks you in, this dual biography is for fans of European history and strong women throughout history. The next one, The Case of the Married Woman by Antonia Fraser. And I might have to check this one out. It is about Caroline Norton and her fight for justice for women. She's a 19th century heroine. It is Carolyn we have to thank for many of the laws we have today in reference to custody laws and spousal abuse. If not for the determined and intelligent efforts of Carolyn in the 1830s, who knows where we as women would stand today. Another read-alike, if you want to read a story of a woman forgotten in history, would be The Secret History of the Rape Kit by Peggy Kennedy. It details the actual creator of the kit and how she was forgotten in history because it was given to, the credit was given to a man.
A couple things. First of all, you cannot keep an owl as a pet in our country. Sorry. I know Jenny sold us on owls a little bit.
I was hoping to sell on sea dogs, but more.
Well, yeah. And also, speaking of forgotten women, The Feather Detective by Roxy Laybourne, or it's a story of Roxy Laybourne, I'm sorry, written by Chris Sweeney. So Roxy Laybourne was the very first forensic ornithologist ever. Using nothing more than her microscope and bits of feathers, Laybourne helped prosecute murderers, kidnappers, poachers. She helped aerospace engineers, she helped Air Force crews bird-proof their airplanes. This is a woman who overcame cultural and scientific obstacles as she shattered stereotypes and pushed boundaries with her persistence and grit. So she kind of rode in on the waves of the forensic profiling craze, okay, as that was emerging, and did this thing. So I can only find one other person that has the same title, forensic ornithologist, and that is Dr. Pepper Trail of Ashland, Oregon. As the only living person I could find that had that title. So it's a very exclusive, niche-y sort of detective work that's based in what we learned about forensic science. And therefore, read-alikes were a bit of a challenge, but I did find Clay and Bones, my life as an FBI forensic artist. And obviously it's very different from the birds, but how they reconstruct from bones, that's fascinating in and of itself. I think that's what the show Bones was about. It was on TV for so many years, although I never watched it. But The Sinners All Bow. So this is a story, two authors, One Murder and the Real Hester Prynne. This is by Kate Winkler Dawson. This is just a fascinating thing about the Scarlet Letter and I think it's called the Fall River, and just this blending of fantasy and fiction and truth, and what has just become a very sort of a cultural milepost for us with this Scarlet A business. But it looks at how justice to an unsettling mystery finds facts and then is clouded again in the search for justice. So I think it sounds quite fascinating, although I have not read this in real life or my other dimension. Laura Popick has presented Strata, Stories from Deep Time. Strata in this case is the geological term that talks about the stripes and variations we see as we drive along the highway, where the landscape's been blown up so we can have a road. So she originally and clearly demonstrates how Earth's strata, the age-old remnants of ancient seafloors, desert dunes, and riverbeds that stripe our landscape, hold lessons for our present and our future. This is a topic that has fascinated me for a long, long time. And if you've not looked into what the strata of our Earth can tell us and can reveal to us, this should be a fascinating ride, because it's darn amazing. And also, read-alikes, Reading Rocks. This is by Brenda Maddox, How Victorian Geologists Discovered the Secret of Life. This is a strata on a smaller scale. And then Turning to Stone, Discovering the Subtle Wisdom of Rocks. Rock collecting is such a huge, big deal because it's important, because there's so much to learn. It's not just because your kids want to clutter up your house. Which is how it feels sometimes. Actually, a lot to be learned there. All right, that wraps us up for this month. Next month, we will gather to talk about the books coming out in August, if you can believe that already. These will be coming out in July. We have a lot of fun events coming up for the summer. Come to the adult programs, get your slips, your entry slips for the drawings, and wishing you all many happy wins. And thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And I'll get those slips turned in.